Folks, we here at Hardlands Media know all too well what it's like to be censored, silenced, suppressed, deplatformed, all of it. Demonetized, everything. It's not fun. And we believe in free speech. And no matter where you stand politically, be it a conservative, a Trump voter, a Kamala supporter, libertarian, green, socialist, independent, I don't care what generation you're part of or the color of your skin or how you worship, everyone's entitled to free speech. But unfortunately, now we are in a day and age where censorship is getting out of control. And an outstanding reporter and commentator who has done a lot of groundbreaking work in the past went through a very frightening scenario in which she lost her channel. Now, thankfully, it is back, but I want to give her a chance to tell her story and what she faced off against. So give it up for first appearance on the show, Rachel Belvins. Thank you so much for joining us here. Um, I know what you went through, and I'm sorry that you went through it. I've gone through this rodeo 9 times. It's not a lot of fun. But for our viewing audience, can you please introduce yourself? It's the first time here. Tell us a little bit about your work. And then what happened to your channel and your fight to restore it?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here on the show. And I am an independent journalist. For those of you who are not familiar with my work, I've been around for, I guess, the last decade in this work. And I'm with you. We see censorship all around. And so it actually wasn't surprising to me when I got the notice a little over a week ago that my YouTube channel had been removed. In fact, I was kind of in the place of looking around, watching YouTube, removing channels left and right, going through this massive purge, and knowing that mine was likely going to be in there somewhere. I mean, they had gone after DD Geopolitics, Mark Sloboda, Glenn Deason, Africa Stream, and a few others kind of in this latest batch of channels that they were taking down. And the one thing that these channels seemed to have in common was that they were all talking about the war in Ukraine, right? They're all talking about Russia and the fact that, you have Kiev not only being completely propped up by the US and its other NATO backers, but also the fact that Kiev is not winning this war right now. So I'm watching these channels that are being taken down for quote unquote hate speech, which I love how they throw that in. It's not just, oh, we decided to remove your channel because we found some, community guideline that we said that you violated. It's, oh, this was hate speech somehow, even though, of course, they don't really point to any specific thing that was said. In my case, they had actually taken down 4 videos from my channel a few days prior and claimed that they were all hate speech. And they were all, 1, Ukraine and Russia related, and 2, at least 3 of those videos had guests who had been censored by YouTube. So you had Fiorella Isabel, who had previously had her channel taken down, Mark Sloboda, who had just had his channel taken down, and then Sarah Bills of DD Geopolitics, who their entire channel was targeted. So I wasn't surprised when I got that notification. The one thing I was surprised by was the just sheer outpouring of support from people across the internet. I know that a lot of people who haven't been through any kind of censorship, they were even kind of looking over and going, okay, we need to be concerned about our channels. And YouTube came back a couple of days later, announced that it was reinstating my channel, but with a warning. So they're still claiming that I violated their hate speech guidelines. They're just claiming that, okay, maybe we went a little too far in removing your entire channel altogether. So I do have it back, but I'm also kind of on notice and in that weird spot where now I'm having to break up my content and put certain stuff over here on Rumble and Rockfin and Odyssey, and then put some stuff on YouTube while still trying to direct people to those other alternative platforms.
Well, how dare you do your job as a journalist and commentator by giving facts and information? I mean, what do you think this is? A free society with the First Amendment? Shame on you. How dare you? But no, what you went through is I wish I'm not saying these words, but I know that pain and suffering all too well. And for a lot of content creators, especially for those who want to get into this business, and it doesn't have to be independent media, I'm seeing it across the board for all the genres, especially here on YouTube, a massive crackdown that's happening. And there are people who have larger channels, who have teams to take care of, who have studios and everything else. And when you see, the censorship hit you, it is a frightening experience because you don't know. And Unfortunately, YouTube is, I think, at this point, maybe laying off people. There's also the concern of the fact that are you even speaking to a person? Because it's frightening. And look, I like YouTube. I like what it can offer. I think it's a great platform, but there's this mental instability amongst a lot of people, especially after 2016, was Donald Trump getting elected, and then this wave of cancel culture and censorship. And I get it. There are bad people out there, but then everyone, especially in the corporate media, felt they had a righteous hammer in their hand, and anything that didn't fit their point of view or perspective looked like a nail, and they were quick to hammer it down. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on this because you've been involved in this media sphere covering politics for a very long time. Um, when the initial, I guess, beginning stages of this cancel culture censorship, this jackboot that we're dealing with, was there anything that really stood out to you when you saw it firsthand? Because in 2016, I was getting started, but I know you've been around a little bit longer. So just want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, yeah, it's been interesting to watch how it has kind of evolved over time. I mean, I know that we saw, as you were noting there, back in 2016 with the election of Trump, you kind of had Russia Gate running full steam. And
Mhm.
you had the US government in this place where, because they had created Russia Gate, now they decided that they were going to start going after Russian funded media, right? They were going to require, at the time, you had these production companies that created content for RT and for Sputnik Radio. They required them to register as foreign agents. They slapped that label on them. And then in 2018, I think that's when I really saw it targeting independent media. At the time, I was
Mhm.
working independently. I was doing some freelance work with the Free Thought Project, and they had this massive following, millions of followers on Facebook. And all of a sudden, one day that just came to a screeching halt, right? They still had all of these followers, but yet their numbers and their clicks were, they had
Mhm.
just stopped completely. And so many other independent pages were feeling the same pain. And that's, I mean, I know that YouTube was still pretty big at the time, but it was interesting to see how a few years ago it was Facebook, right? Everyone was going to Facebook for our actual news and our news feed. And then Facebook comes in. But the interesting thing that they did was they started with Alex Jones, right? They go in, they
Yes,
completely
I remember
deplatform
this.
Alex
I
Jones.
remember
And there's
this.
plenty of people who they're like, I don't like Alex Jones. I'm fine with him getting deplatformed. But of course, as we know, they don't stop there. They
Nope.
continue targeting more and more pages. And so by actually October of 2018, my
Mhm.
page was taken down on Facebook. The Free Thought Project's page was taken down, and several other, I believe there were hundreds of them at the time, that
Yes.
Facebook just went through, removed them completely, and then never gave them back. And so we've seen this continued censorship in a variety of cases. Then came 2020 and COVID. And
Mhm.
what we're facing now currently, in addition to all of the social media censorship, you also have the Biden administration with its latest sanctions targeting any kind of Russian funded media. So RT has pretty much stopped any kind of US operations because of the latest sanctions. And then yesterday, the production company that created content for Sputnik Radio, they also were forced to shut down. So I was doing some work with them and was able to have a show there that they created. And then yesterday we found out, okay, that's all coming to a halt because the Biden administration has continued on with these sanctions to the point where they're suffocating out any kind of Russian funding whatsoever. So, I mean, it's incredibly concerning because, as we saw with Alex Jones and the censorship in 2018, it doesn't stop there. So they may be targeting Russian media funding and various independent journalists now, but I think that my concern is, where does this go from here and how does this continue to escalate? Because if there's anything that we've learned, it's that that is exactly what's going to happen.
Precisely. And what I remember myself and my colleague Daniel, we were when we before we really got onto YouTube. I mean, some of our radio show did go onto YouTube, but when we covered the Alex Jones situation, I mean, we were both like, "Well, this is opening up Pandora's box." And a lot of people we respected here in the Chicago media sphere or commentary community, they were like cheering up and down, like, "Hey guys, we could be on the chopping block next." And it wasn't just only what happened to you guys on Facebook, because interesting enough, and I remember speaking with Daniel about it, whenever we did original video content on Facebook, it would only get like only a handful of likes. But if we did like, or if we posted an article from the New York Times or Washington Post, it would get like hundreds of likes. And the only way you could make your original work even worthwhile is if you paid Facebook to actually promote your work, which is again just disgusting, but that's the only way you could get attention. And then when Alex Jones got censored, we saw libertarian pages go down, activist groups, especially those for Palestine, go down, progressives, and we saw this massive wave of people losing their platforms. And then with YouTube, of course, we saw the adpocalypse, we saw corporate media worm and bully its way in to have the algorithm favor them. But even now, what we are seeing is, I want to say, maybe a pushback from people, because when our channel got hit, the few times it did, 9 times in a row, and even when your channel got hit, what did we see? A massive wave of support from people across the political spectrum. I'm going to speak for myself, but I've had Trumpers say, "Hey, what happened to your channel isn't right. I'm going to help retweet this. And it's fine. That's fine. I could have disagreements with people, but what I don't like is when people get deplatformed and demonetized. But I want to get your thoughts and commentary on, I guess, the resistance, or at least the quasi-resistance of pushing back against the cancel culture, because I see people who say, yeah, corporate media is mentioned to me in my YouTube algorithm, but I dismiss it. And I'm seeing people manually dismiss corporate media. Do you think it's gaining traction? Because I did a report right now on my show on how corporate media and trust in the two-party system is falling drastically. And you've done commentary during this election cycle. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch. And I think that that's part of why we have seen the censorship that we have of independent media, is because we are competition for corporate media and we don't have to play by the same rules that they do, right? We don't have to be stuck here in this two-party paradigm of acting like one side is going to ruin the country and the other side is going to save the country. We get to actually call things as they are. And I think, having that traction that we did see on Facebook, even going back to 2015, 2016, you've got pages like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. They weren't getting nearly as much traction on their posts. So they're looking over here and they're going, wait a second, who are all of these independent journalists that are also commenting on politics and on US foreign policy, and they're getting so many views? Instead of looking for ways to make their content better, they go about trying to silence the rest of us. And I think a lot of the pushback that we have seen, I'm very grateful for what we have seen from the public, especially in recent months and in kind of the season that we've been in, has been the fact that people realize, well, wait a second, some people were told that Donald Trump was going to come into office in 2016 and the world was going to end. Others thought that he was going to save America. A lot of people kind of realized that neither one of those things happened, but we've just continued on in the same trajectory because that's how things go with our current US establishment. You can change political parties, you can change the person in the White House, but it doesn't have any really significant change at the end of the day when it comes to where we stand as a country, how our military industrial complex operates, how big pharma operates, I should say, and on and on. And so I think you do have this place of people kind of waking up and going, wait a second, this isn't right? I pay all this money in taxes every single year that I'm forced to pay. And now I'm watching it being sent overseas. And especially over the last year, I mean, we have had a live streamed genocide going on. You get on X, you get on, I guess you could add in Facebook, but YouTube, and you see these horrific images and videos of the Palestinians in Gaza who are just being put through hell. And then you take a step back and you go, okay, well, Israel's carrying out these war crimes. Where is Israel getting its weapons, right? Where are they getting their 2,000-pound bombs? Oh, that's coming from the US, and I'm contributing to that with my tax dollars. So I do think that we have seen a waking up in a way here in this country. I think that there's still a lot more that needs to happen, but people are starting to realize, well, wait a second, we have this growing independent media. We have people that are speaking out with regular videos. We have other alternatives to YouTube, and that censorship, I think it hasn't been able to slow things down. Instead, it has gotten people to the point of going, well, wait a second, it's big tech against us. How do we fight back? How do we show our support? And I, even in the places where I can be kind of cynical and I'm thinking, okay, we still have a long ways to go, I'm still grateful for all of the progress that we have made up until this point.
Absolutely. But you mentioned billions of dollars, but hey, billions of dollars going to Ukraine, billions of dollars going to Israel. And obviously, we got the Democrats and corporate media constantly promoting a potential conflict with China over Taiwan. But let's not forget, Lahaina people got $700 if they could get it. And one time, $750 for the people in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. The only thing is they got to log on to the internet to get it. So people are getting money, just bare minimum. But even then, if you were to mention that, you're automatically labeled as anti-Democrat. You're labeled as somebody who wants to help out Trump. And I find the ability of so many serious people in positions, authoritative positions, um, talking down and promoting this fear of Trump or either that voting third party. And when we're in an environment in which you have corporate media spewing out these lies, and they are lies because they lied about the Hunter Biden laptop story, they lied about the war in Iraq with weapons of mass destruction, they lied about Russiagate, and they're constantly lying. But yet there are people that are susceptible enough to even believe those lies and to have them act irrationally. Um, and so there is a fight that independent media has to do. When you reached out to YouTube and eventually YouTube restored your channel, you mentioned it a little bit how they just said, okay, you got a warning. But did anybody else respond to why this happened to you? Because your work, I've seen your work, nothing in it has any remote connection to violence or hate or abuse to anyone. It's just reporting facts on the ground. Was there any communication back from YouTube, or was it just, all right, here you go and goodbye?
Yeah, so it was interesting because when they initially remove your channel, they tell you, "Hey, you get one appeal, right? You can appeal, you can say that you thought that we made the wrong decision here." So I
Mhm,
log on to their appeal form, I write out a paragraph saying exactly as you said there, right? "Hey, I'm an independent journalist. I've
mhm.
looked over your community guidelines. I don't believe that there is hate speech anywhere in my content on my channel, blah blah blah." And within minutes, I get a response saying that my appeal was rejected. And of course, it's just the automatic system. I don't think that there was any specific person who's actually reading the paragraph that I wrote and taking it back into account, because I don't think
Yeah.
that they gave themselves enough time to do that. And when it came to the email that I got back, now it did have a name there. It said, "Oh, I'm from Taylor at YouTube." Of course, they're not calling you up and there's no kind of customer service. But what I thought was interesting was that in that email they sent back, they said, "We realize that your channel is very important to you and your audience." And then they go in to say, blah, 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 we're restoring it, back to the generic. But that sentence there really stuck with me because I'm like, yeah, obviously my YouTube channel is incredibly important to me. It's part of
It's
my
your business.
livelihood.
It's your business and
Exactly.
livelihood. Come on.
Ex- as a journalist, but it's also important to my audience, right? It's important to all
Mhm.
of the people who are reaching out going, "Hey, we actually watch her videos on here." And so that was the part that kind of stuck out to me. But in terms of being able to get to anyone at YouTube, I didn't have any success with that. I wish that there was some magical, right? We found a guy at YouTube and we can share his email address to all of the people who have been targeted and censored. But unfortunately, I think that they have it set up the way that they do on purpose. And this goes for every big tech company, right? It's not like they have some kind of customer service line that you can call to say, "Hey, I have been wronged. My channel, my videos, whatever has been
Mhm.
removed, and I need you to reconsider this decision," because then they would have to deal with you on a human level. Instead, now they just get to handle it however they want and just kind of assume that there's some clause in the user agreement that basically says that you can allow them to take advantage of you, to take your channel, whatever that may be. And it is incredibly concerning because we do have all of these alternatives, but none of them have a monetization structure quite like YouTube. And so YouTube is really good at building you up, allowing you to get monetized sometimes, allowing you to make some money from that. And then just when you hit that range of thinking, "Okay, I can actually do this, right? This can be something that is sustainable. Then they have the power to remove your channel and to target you, or in this case, to kind of put me in a position where now every single video that I put on YouTube, I'm second guessing, okay, can they find anything possibly wrong with this? Instead of being able to put out my work and say, hey, I want my audience to see it. I want them to be the ones that they think that there's something
Mhm.
wrong or something incorrect, that they're the ones reaching out to me, not YouTube claiming that they found more hate speech.
And the thing is, like, and let's talk about the audience, because it's the audiences that then make a channel grow, not just only in independent media, but in all the genres. It's the loyalty from the audience, the people that you cultivate who support your work and what you've done. And you have done a lot of great work. I followed you along. Same thing with Fiorella. She's done some great work too. Want to give a shout out to my friend Pasta. He's done some great work. I mean, a lot of people have done good work. And the thing is, it's the audience. When they look at it, they listen to it, they watch it. And you know what? Sometimes the audience will add in some information or maybe a
Mhm.
correction. It's because the audience cares. And in
Right.
this day and age where you got your smartphone and your computers in front of you, you know, everybody's attention is going a mile a minute. And the fact that you are able to get a good portion of people to watch your content says a lot about the show and what you're providing and the information that you're giving. It means people like it, they respond to it. And when it's gone, of course, that audience is going to get upset. And that's something that I think YouTube and a lot of these platforms, all of them, Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, Kick, Twitch, you know, Rumble, everything, they all got to remember that's people that build up these platforms up. And what they don't want is Big Brother, the two-party system, or corporate media dictating what people can and cannot see. I mean, the reason why YouTube grew so big before the apocalypse is because people were leaving corporate media. And ironically enough, the only reason why corporate media is still relevant is because Donald Trump gave them the boost in 2015, 2016, because people were glued to their TV sets because they were wondering, well, what's Trump going to say
Mhm.
next? And even though corporate media gave his empty podium all that empty space, people were leaving corporate media because it was nothing but the same garbage and the same lies over and over again. And to the audience, people watching, you know, Rachel's content, Hardlands Media, we are very grateful for it. And unfortunately, I don't know if you've dealt with this before, but before your channel got canceled and even now, do you get messages from your audience saying, "Hey, I just got unnotified. I got unsubscribed. Well, I can't post a comment onto your work." Have you ever gotten that feedback? Because we've dealt with it, and unfortunately, it's something that's out of our control because we can't fix that. I would love it if everybody got notified when we went live, but it's and same thing too. When my audience types comments, they say to me, "Hey, I tried to post this
Mhm.
comment. Is it being deleted?" Have you gone through that?
Yeah, and what's weird is that it feels like it's mainly been in the last month. Like I have had that happen before, you know, and it was kind of sporadic, but I feel like in the last month, especially on YouTube, I've been getting all these comments saying, "Hey, I can't comment," or "My comment just disappears." And it's not anything I'm doing on my end, right? So I'm having
Mhm,
to respond to people and let them know. I'm also getting comments saying that people are having to watch just an insane amount of ads on my videos, which is interesting to me because I don't feel like I'm getting the full revenue, yet YouTube is like flooding them with ads. And so I guess that's another reason to go watch these videos on other alternative platforms that don't have that tied in. But yeah, it's really frustrating to see. And I know it's frustrating for the audience too. If they subscribe to your channel, they want to be able to watch your channel, right? They want
mhm,
those notifications and to be able to leave comments. And going back to what you were saying about the corporate media and kind of the differences in independent media, yeah, if you watch a CNN newscast and you find something that was incorrect, it's not exactly like you can just reach out to that anchor or I guess that producer and say, hey, you know, letting you know about this or adding in this context or anything like that. But with independent journalists, you actually can do that, right? We see
mhm.
the comments that are left, we see the messages, and there's much more of a person to person connection between you and your audience because they, exactly as you were saying, they're making your work possible, right? And so you get these journalists that it's like we do sincerely care about our audience and about the people who are following us or subscribing to us every month and donating to our work. Whereas CNN, Fox News, it's like they don't care, right? They have all their corporate sponsors. They don't care if, Joe in middle America is happy with their newscast or not. They don't really care how many. The only reason they actually care about viewers is, okay, it helps with their advertisers, it makes them happy. And on top of that, it also helps with the competition, which is just between, back and forth between them. And so I think that that's another point where, and a reason why independent media is growing in the way that it is because we are presenting an alternative to corporate media that people have been desperate for. There is a demand for it. It's
Mhm.
just that you have big tech coming in and kind of messing with that in a variety of ways, as we've seen over the years. And unfortunately, I don't have any faith that they are going to just magically stop anytime soon.
No, but it's always fun to break apart their work and especially call them out for the hypocrites. We recently did a video about Joy Reid saying that every single Trump supporter, Trump volunteers, they're waiting in the wings, hiding underground to start January 6th 2.0, which is another. So I guess Trump is now Julius Caesar, waiting to cross the Rubicon, and there goes the Roman Republic. But no, that's not the kind of world we're living in. And unfortunately, folks, I want to say that things are going to get better, that things are going to get easier. The only way independent media, people like Rachel and all of our colleagues, everyone in independent media are going to be around here is because of your support, because we need true free speech. We need true independent media. Look what happened to Julian Assange. I mean, he was made into a sacrificial lamb, and all those politicians, we all know them, AOC and Bernie Sanders, they talked a big game, but where were they when he was arrested? Where were they when we asked for their support? They were nowhere. And this impacts us all. And when a content creator loses their channel, it's a frightening experience. I don't wish that on anyone at all. I don't care where you stand politically. It is a frightening scenario because if it's your livelihood and you have a team to also take care of, you got to wonder, okay, is this truly the end? And it's something that affects you mentally. And I wish that YouTube will change its ways. But with this election that's happening, I just want to get your thoughts on. I know time is running short and we got a little short window, but I want to get your thoughts on, at least in regards to Kamala and Trump. I'm hearing from Trump supporters or Kamala supporters that Kamala or Trump is going to be the fighter for free speech. What are your thoughts on these two individuals who are running for the highest office of the land that's controlled by Wall Street and the big banks?
Oh, I think I still look at them and think this is the best we have, really, out of all the people that, I mean, the Democrat and Republican parties have so much money, right? So much money. And this is the best that they could come up with. I think it's incredibly damaging to our country as a whole. But yeah, I mean, when I look at someone like Harris, I think that she would essentially continue on with the status quo. I think that, she seems to be one of those people who her policies are based on who is in the room around her. That's why we're suddenly seeing some kind of like populist adjacent policies from her, right? Where she's coming out and going,
Debatable.
you don't think so, with her no taxes on tips, or all of a sudden she's going to crack down on the border and that sort of thing. It's like I see those and I think, okay, she's wanting to go. That's why in some ways you almost see her looking a little bit more like Trump, because she's thinking that this is what people want to hear. Now she could get in office and be much worse than I'm giving her credit for. But when I look at someone like Trump, I think that a lot of the things that he campaigns on, he legitimately wants to do, right? He sees this war in Ukraine. He sees the fact that we're on the road towards World War III with Russia. And he's able to say, hey, that's bad. We shouldn't be in this spot. I think my biggest concern for him is if he gets reelected, who is in his cabinet? Because as we saw
Right.
the first time around,
Yep.
when you get Mike Pompeo and John Bolton and Mark Esper and all of these people around you and in your ear, for someone like Trump, it puts him in a position where he listens to them, right?
Mhm.
They are able to form the policies they want and get Trump to agree to it. So I think
Yep.
that's my biggest concern is, okay, he gets in office. He has, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. That's all fine and good, but who else is he looking at to be a part
Mhm.
of his cabinet? What neocons are going to be able to work their way in there? Because this is still Washington. This is the swamp at the end of
Yep.
the day. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what he actually is able to get done versus what he has campaigned on this time around. And if he really truly understands, because when you see how incredibly pro-Israel Trump has been, and the fact that it's like he does not seem to understand just how bad things are for the Palestinians and for the Lebanese as well right now. And if he
Mm-hmm.
does understand it, then he's, lying to everyone and covering a lot of that up. So, I mean, I have some very serious concerns about either one of them getting into office. And I think we all should be concerned about the fact that this is where we are at a country at this point where we're literally looking at the possibility of World War III in the coming years, whether it start against, I should say, against Russia, China, or Iran. But
Mm-hmm.
we're at that point, and you have two main presidential candidates who I don't feel like are taking this nearly as seriously as they should, given what is actually at stake here.
Absolutely. And I think that's a fantastic note to end it on because look, we got to fight for free speech. I'm glad that your channel's back and may it keep on pushing forward. May you keep on doing all the good work that you're doing in regards towards covering stories that corporate media won't cover. So, right now, what I'm pulling up here is your link tree. So that way people can follow you, support your work. YouTube, there it is. Buy you a cup of coffee, as you should. Substack, Telegram, Rumble, all this good stuff here. So please, folks, if you're not following Rachel, I'm going to be posting this link in the live stream chat, and I'll also be posting this link in the comment section as well when we post this on Sunday. So that way, all of you can get that link and follow Rachel. But is there anything you want to promote in regards to interviews or when your show comes on? So that way, my viewing audience can follow you, support your work, share your content. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm still in the process of putting out daily interviews that are on my, yes, they are on my YouTube channel. They're also on Rumble, Rockman, Odyssey, all of the other alternatives. I also, right now, for my paid subscribers on Substack and on Patreon, pick your platform, whichever you prefer. I have a weekly series that comes out just for paid subscribers called Sanctioned, where every week we kind of do a deep dive on a different topic that is affecting our world right now. So if people want to sign up there, that would be greatly, greatly helpful. And yes, for all of you who are watching out there, I mean, the importance of support for your independent journalists, for if you're following Hardlands Media, right?
Hey.
Knowing that it's taking the time to comment, it's signing up as a paid subscriber, it's doing whatever you can to provide that support. That means so much to us. So thank you to you, Kit, for taking the time to have me on your show today, to
Mhm.
let me tell my story and helping to further get that out. I really enjoyed it.
Well, we invite you to come back on if there's ever a chance. We'd love to have you back on to get your commentary and analysis. Chances are, if we're going to be talking about heavy hitting politics and especially in regards to the wars, it might have to be Rumble exclusive. But on behalf of everyone here at Hardlands Media, we're glad your channel's back. We're glad your channel's restored. And to all the other lovely, beautiful people watching us live right now, we're going to be ending our program. And I think we'll be ending it off with a song from Jesse Jett, Dust of Better Days. Very apropos for what we're dealing with. Rachel, all the best to you. And folks, we'll be live tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central, as we should all the time, Monday through Friday. And again, Rachel, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watch them as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. Is it too late for us to ever change? We're collecting the dust of better days. They're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they've taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, and they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Feds arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they want changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had you contained. Oh, life before they had you contained. The SWAT team took your neighbor today.